A year ago, we embraced into a platform that allowed us to hear from our community. It provided a very simple question. Folks could go online, they could share a thought. And then others could see those thoughts and they could begin to rate those thoughts, just like Amazon. So if you thought that was an awesome thought, you gave it a 5-star. If you thought it was an okay thought, you gave it 3 stars. And so last spring we did our very first thought exchange, and it was kind of what we call a weather report about things that we're doing well and things that we could improve upon. And during that very first exchange, we got well over 800 thoughts. And a lot of high school thoughts because we really wanted to get them involved. And we just really wanted to introduce this concept where we get community input, community engagement. It was really, really important to us. And so we had a very successful first exchange. And through that exchange, one of the things that just stuck out loud and clear to all of us was our high school restrooms were atrocious. All right, and we heard it. I even went up and accepted, first time in my life, accepted a donation at graduation to fix our restrooms. So that was, but it was wonderful information, and we have put in about $80,000 to continue to kind of really upgrade those restrooms. And hopefully you're starting to see some of that come. There's still more work to do, but we've got brand new stalls, we've got new sinks, we've got new mirrors, we painted it inside, we still got a little bit of flooring to do, but the idea was that we heard you. And it was a tool that we could actually send out a question and you gave us feedback. And we want you to know we're listening. Well, this fall, we did our second exchange, and it was about our facilities. And so we wanted to ask the community, what do you think about our facilities? And we utilized this same instrument, this thought exchange. And so I want to give you a brief snapshot of what we found out this fall. Okay? Here was the question that we asked. The essential question was, what are some things you appreciate about our current facilities, and what opportunities for improvement do you see as we develop future plans to improve our school buildings? Very open-ended question. And so how many of you in here have put in a thought, just out of curiosity? All right? And has anybody just gone on and looked at the thoughts and then began to rate some of those thoughts? Okay. And so you can go in and you can provide thoughts. Maybe you just want to see what others are saying. And you go, you know what, I like it, star it, move on. Well, we did this with this particular question. And we opened this window up for about a 2-week period of time. In this particular thought exchange, we had 612 participants in this exchange, meaning 612 different people went on and either shared a thought, they reviewed thoughts, and then went ahead and starred thoughts. All right? So 612 participants brought 612 thoughts, and we had starred ratings of almost 26,300. All right? The demographics were kind of interesting. So who's all getting online and doing this? Well, we found out that we had 46% of our folks who went in to not only provide thoughts, but to rate thoughts were parents. About 249. It's a good number. All right? We had about 23%, or 124 students got involved. And generally this tends to be a little bit more in our high school realm. We had 117 staff members, or 21%. We had 41 community members, meaning they really had no affiliation other than they just heard about the exchange through a variety of different means and went on and read thoughts, shared thoughts, and starred thoughts. And then we had 3%, 16, and we gave them this option. They really would rather prefer not to say. All right? And so this is an anonymous survey. We don't take your information. We don't prick your finger and get your DNA. It's all anonymous because we really want your true feedback. So that was kind of the makeup of this particular exchange. All right? The other thing we did in this exchange was this. So not only did we ask you, are you a parent, a student, and they had to check the box. We asked them what building they might most associate themselves with. All right? So if I'm a parent of a Wigan Street child, then I would have said Wigan Street. If my child went to the high school, I might write high school. If I was a student, I might say high school. And so what you're seeing there is the number of people who participated, who represented themselves as this was their primary building. And you'll see Columbia had 8% or 43, Dan Emmett, and I won't read all down through those. You're going to find our biggest population tends to usually focus around that high school setting, okay? About 227 participants in that area. What we did then was we took all 612 thoughts and we began to group them in theme. We wanted to see, okay, how many thoughts were about Wiggin Street? How many thoughts were about Dan Emmett? How about the middle school? How about the high school? And we took those thoughts and we had them all lumped into those bigger groups because obviously every one of our buildings is unique unto itself. I've got a 1904 building in Wiggin Street. I've got a 2008 building in Twin Oak. I mean, so all ranges, sizes, shapes, and so on and so forth. And so you'll see kind of cascading down the number of thoughts based on each particular building. We did have one caveat. We had one elementary category where it kind of lumped them all in. I couldn't really pull it out and stick it just in one building. All right? So I'll share with you some of those. But as you look at that, you're probably going, does that mean Columbia had more thoughts than Dan Emmett? That's exactly what it means. And you'll be able to, when I show you at the end, how you can go in and look at every one of these thoughts. All right? I have pulled out some highlights of the elementary. So let's start with the elementary. We'll go left to right. All right? Here were the top 3 thoughts that came out of just this big elementary thoughts. And the first one was elementary schools are found within neighborhoods that the students live. All right? That was important to a lot of people. The second was renovations at the high school restrooms are necessary, but don't forget about the terrible conditions at the bathrooms at our elementary schools. All right, so they kind of took our thought from before, and trust me, as a board, we went into every one of our elementary bathrooms that we've been to. We hear you. It's obviously a thought that has been shared with us. I had another thought here. Went to the general elementary. My family has land in neighboring districts. We could build there in a heartbeat. However, we love MVCSD. New elementaries would make our decisions to stay incredibly easy. So that's somebody that just went on and shared a thought. 21 people saw that thought and rated it almost 4 stars. Okay? If I go down to Columbia, and I'll try to run through these quicker, if you can picture where these are. Columbia needs dedicated art and music classrooms, equipped with sinks and adequate storage. We're going to see that. I mean, for those of us who are in Columbia or go there, we know that little cafeteria is used for, art and many other things. Here's a positive. Lots of green space and playground at Columbia. Well, they just did a beautiful campaign to put in a new playground. So people see that as a great pride. So a lot of people thought that as well. And then they made a comment about the parking lot and how it's a little bit dangerous and how maybe we can look to do something else there. At East Elementary, it says East Elementary needs some repairs. We have bricks that are nearly falling out above the front door, gym ceiling that is falling, broken sidewalks, and awful restrooms. Well, 21 people at East rated that very high. So that tells us a story. And it's something that we've seen, quite frankly, firsthand, right? Again, East gym ceiling, sidewalks around the building. This helps us shape our conversations as we look at summer projects, as we look towards renovation, or as we perhaps look towards new opportunities. Pleasant Street. I'm very concerned with the ceilings at Pleasant. If you've ever been to Pleasant, it looks like snow on the, that's brought to our attention. We saw that at Dan Emmett as well. In this case, I appreciate how each student has their own individual hallway lockers at Pleasant Street. Not all our elementaries have lockers for all their students. And then they appreciate their huge playground there as well. Dan Emmett, student traffic flow, school zone lights. Dan Emmett needs a dedicated kitchen and cafeteria. If you've been to Dan Emmett, you walk through the front doors, there's the gym. It also serves as their cafeteria. And they have really almost no kitchen area. So that's a need that they certainly expressed at Dan Emmett. Interestingly enough, the fewest thoughts we got in the whole exchange We're at our two newest buildings, Twin Oak and the middle school. And oftentimes I think when people think about putting in thoughts, they generally are looking for things they can critique or they want to add that we maybe need to improve upon. There's a real fondness for both the middle school and Twin Oak. And so what you're seeing, Twin Oak is an amazing building. I love that it has an elevator for students. High thought, 4.3 stars. I think Twin Oak is a great building, and every elementary student in Mount Vernon should have access to a building like that. 57 people agreed of this particular exchange. The quality facility is not equitable. Every child deserves to be in a building like Twin Oak. So we start to hear the same thoughts over and over and over. And finally, Wigan Street. Windows upstairs are extremely difficult to open. There are 2 exits with 2 stairways. Wigan Street is a great school, but the building is old. We need to build a new one. We've outgrown its size. Wigan Street is in need of some TLC. Ancient HVAC system raises questions about indoor quality. Again, there are more thoughts. I just pulled out the top 3. I'll show you how you can find the rest of them. This is kind of an interesting category because remember, I said our biggest categories were the high school, 227 different thoughts relative to that. I'll start with just the high school itself. So this is Mount Vernon High School's top thoughts. It would be nice to have better traffic flow at the middle school and high school, especially to cut down on cars using the lower part. How many would agree that we have a flow problem? Yeah. And we're going to be addressing that. Redevelop space and learning environments in the high school building. Improvements, updates are needed in common performance, eating facilities, as well as updates to classrooms, rated very high, almost 4 stars. I'm new to the area. I was very disconcerted with the facilities at the high school, and we come from a very small town, and they had upgraded schools. It's important to have decent facilities to feel comfortable. So some of the top 3 thoughts relative to just the high school. We heard this one loud and clear, so loud and clear, I made it its own separate category. All right? The high school auditorium. We take great pride in Mount Vernon in everything we do, not only from, our academics and our athletics, but the arts. We have great music programs and art programs, and what we're hearing now is the high school auditorium is embarrassing and needs significant upgrades. The school must show greater support for the arts. The art and music space isn't satisfactory condition. The high school theater needs updates in many ways. It really looks like it dates back to the 1970s. You'll see more about space and people standing around the outside. These kinds of thoughts, not that we haven't had our own thoughts about these for all of us who go to concerts, but these help resonate with us so that as we begin to develop our own master plan, we can include these kinds of things. Here's the Mount Vernon Middle School. I only had 12 thoughts on the middle school. Only 12. It was my smallest group because from a facility standpoint, this is an awesome facility. And even though it was built in 1996, that's how many years old? Almost 20? All right, looks in great shape. Over 20. I appreciate that there are additional safety measures on the inside of classroom doors, and I thought the Kindness Rocks program in middle school was amazing. All right, and so I put those 2 in because there were so few, and they were so positive about the middle school. And then here are just some general thoughts, some ones that kind of fit into another category. I think we already said that one. A little bit about building. I like the historic buildings, but wonder if they meet today's needs. Okay? I'll go back to the last one, but on the last page of this now is something we'll be putting on our website. And it will allow you an opportunity to go in and really dig down deep yourself. All right? And so we'll have a link. It'll look a lot like this link here. And if I click it, let's see if it opens it up. All right? So this is kind of an interactive website. It's kind of small. You'll get a chance to take a look at this. But as you go down through here, we've had some comments that we say. There's some photos of our renovation that took place at the high school that you can take a look at. Here's our question. It shares with anybody who gets in here, our participants and their ratings. Now here's where it gets kind of fun. This is the interaction piece. So you want to go see the thoughts, you'll click right here. Now what it will do is it'll open up another window up here, all right? And I can show you. You can now go down and look at all 600 thoughts. From the top to the bottom, you can scroll all the way, you can look at every thought that was shared in the district. What I need you to be careful of when you look at that is this, all right? These are based upon their rating on 5 stars, all right? In this particular, the top thought, the one that got a 4.3 star, if you look over to the right, 22 people really got into the ranking. So there's an average that goes in here that may not quite always fit, because if I had 22 people who ranked this as a 4.3, and yet I had 100 people give one a 4.2, you might think the 100, that is more indicative of what people are feeling. But nonetheless, it says down here ranked 1 out of 598, and I'm not sure where the 598, they must have combined a few. But you can go down through here and you can read the top thoughts rated all the way down. All right? And if you want to just go in and take a look at the top 10, just take a look at the top 10. And you'll see how people are rating things. I loved our school district as an alum and a varsity sports player, but I'm growing increasingly frustrated at the lack of attention to funding the arts. And again, this goes into somewhat of an auditorium kind of a feel. There are 12 pages, so you'll scroll and you'll go all the way down through here looking at all of the thoughts. And then finally, to get even more in detail, this is where I think you'll enjoy it a little bit. When you hit view, all right, now it's interactive, so now I click. So if I go to the elementary one and click, all right, you see how it kind of scrolled out? If I want to go look at every elementary thought, I click here. If I want to go look at every thought from Columbia, I click here. And I can go down through and look at every single thought that was shared about that particular building. And we've done that for every single one of these. When you go into the elementary, you'll see some thoughts. I'll just open it up quick. And they might mention 3 elementaries. Well, I didn't know which one to put it in, so we put it into the elementary one. All right. So I think that's a lot of good information that you can share. And as you kind of go back out, if I go back to the summary, all right, then I can do the same for secondary. And then I can go into the high school theater where there are 32 thoughts. And you can go down through and see all 32 thoughts. And these are just focused on the auditorium and how important that is to our community. So I wanted to give you kind of a brief overview of really what this looks like, how we utilize this. The thing that I continue to find even more impressive is what people are willing to share. I really think it's a great community engagement tool. In the spring, we gave them a chance to share about anything, and they did. This was very focused on facilities, and most things were on facilities, but people still felt comfortable enough that they would share about something else. Maybe it was a program. Maybe it was an initiative that we're doing at and they wanted to share their pride in it. Or, hey, the library here is about, and it may not have had a focus on facilities, but just providing our community an opportunity to share was incredibly important. And I think it can also be very, very engaging. What we have to decide as a board, as we move forward, as we begin to dig a little bit more into these results, as we finish our year out and we go to all of our buildings, at some point we're going to begin to take this conversation, our observations, continued input and dialogue to develop a master facility plan for the district. All right, what do we need to do as we move forward to set Mount Vernon to just take that next step from a facility standpoint? And I mean, it may be, hey, we like our buildings, we just want to renovate them. All right, well, if that's the case, then we've got to develop a plan. And we've got to figure out how we're going to do it, how we're going to finance it, what it looks like. We may have, it may come out that, you know what, we're going to renovate the high school, we're going to really do a kick-butt job, we're going to build an auditorium that's going to represent the community, where we can have, all of our events, and then we've got to figure out what that looks like. And talk to our community about it, and get your support. There is something called the Ohio School Facilities Commission, and they've been around for a long time. And we've actually asked them to come back to Mount Vernon and evaluate all of our buildings. And they did. part of what you saw if you got in there was a facility grade card that we shared with everybody. And they have a special formula. It's really pretty simple. If it costs 2/3 or more to renovate a building versus build it new, they won't put any money towards that building. Because they feel like it's a waste of renovation or a waste of state dollars to do that. If you can go in and renovate for less than that, then they're willing to put money towards it. Right now, Mount Vernon City Schools is about 50 cents on every dollar that we qualify for the program. Right now, they have 4 buildings they say they would be willing to renovate within our district. All right? And those 4 buildings are the middle school, the high school, Twin Oak, and Pleasant Street. We look at our other elementary buildings, they're saying, hey, they may be really neat buildings, but we can't put money into those projects. We can't put money into Wigan Street, East, Columbia, or Dan Emmett. Now, that doesn't mean we can't. I mean, if our community says, by golly, we love our Dan Emmett, we just need to build a cafeteria, and we need to, maybe add a classroom. We can do whatever we want, we just won't be able to tap into that resource that's 50 cents for every dollar. All right? So that's the kind of conversations we're going to continue to have because, my charge for us will be to develop a master plan that we as a community can be proud of. All right? Which leads me to one other real quick thought. I think it's really important to mention. We're getting ready to do some things just outside these premises. And so you've heard words of a community field house, and that's true. Those are being raised privately. Those are donor fundraising projects. Our school board and tax dollars right now are not going into that project. And I know a lot of people, I'm not sure they quite understand that. I mean, when I went and looked at the high school theater piece, I saw a lot of thoughts where they thought, well, we can spend all this money on this field house, but we're not spending money in the arts or on these auditoriums. And we believe they're all important, incredibly important. But this field house became an idea that has been fostering for a long time, and together with the Booster Club and some generous donors in our community, they're taking big steps to move forward on that. All right? We're going to, real close to this campus. Now, will we spend taxpayer dollars on that? Absolutely. Makes sense. All right? So there's going to be a lot of exciting things going on right in here, but we also have bigger plans for the district as a whole as we move forward. And that means looking at Wigan Street and East and Dan Emmett and Pleasant and the high school and the middle. We have some wonderful ideas as we move forward, and we're just beginning to start to touch on those things because we realize the high school needs work. It's a 1968 building, and it needs updated, and we're hearing it. They're telling us that. We're taking that next step. Okay. Any questions on that? It's just a quick recap. We're going to make this available on our website for people to get in, dig in a little bit more. We'll continue to have conversations as a board about this. But I just wanted to share with you real quick the Facility Thought Exchange.